Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful, fantabulous, and mystical day. My name is Emmanuel Aguilar, aka Mystic Fox 4, and in case you don't know who I am, I do illustration and character design. And I've been doing this series where I kind of introduce different artists and showcase some of their work, and then talk a little bit about them. On today's episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about composition and the importance of thumbnailing. For those of you who don't know what thumbnailing is, if you can see on the screen, thumbnailing is these right here, these little drawings, right? So the purpose of this is to actually get a sense of what the composition is going to be, and get a sense of what the characters are going to be doing, and how they're going to be placed in the scene, to convey either a story or to show this character's strength. This one in particular, splash art made by Viktor Titov, and it's on this character by the name of Pike. And it's a splash art. So splash art has a very specific goal in mind, and I'll talk about that in a second. But without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So this artist, his name is Viktor Titov. He is the co-founder and art director at Graphit Studios, and he did or maybe their company, maybe it wasn't just him, made the splash art for Pike the Blood Moon skin. So splash art, right? I was talking a little bit about how I was going to explain it. Splash art is very unique form of artwork. It's one of my probably favorite types of artwork because it showcases a character in their natural habitat, and it makes them look really cool and badass. But the purpose of it is to convey a strength of the character, or give you a sense of a mood of what kind of character you're going to be playing as a player, right? It gets players wanting to play the character. This one in particular has more of a Chinese Asian kind of story to it, where some of the design is inspired by Asian lore and things like that. And in this case, he's like an assassin, and he's after this guy, right? And you can see there's a little window here. Maybe he came through there, right? So in terms of composition, right? So we have this guy in the foreground, and then we have the environment or whatever. But this is a brighter area, and if you were to break this into blocks, if you are in Photoshop, right, and you crop this here, there, and there, you would get these center points, right? The crossroads. This here would be one, this here would be one, and this here would be one. These four spots, this little square. So any of these little corners, where his head is, it's going to be a point where it's favorable to put things in, and it will give you a better sense of kind of the feeling of importance, right? So this character is important and this character is important. So, but which one of the two is more important? Well, this one. So we have something bright here, and it's pointing at the secondary thing, but it's also his body is angled, right? And what's really cool about this composition too is that it's angled and it's tilted. So what I mean by tilted is the floor is like this, right? It's at an angle, and it's in a perspective. So you're looking up at the character, and it's tilted, so it gives a really ominous kind of feel, which is very much the Pike type character, right? I believe in his lore, he's this character that goes dives in the Runeterra ocean, and kills this type of shark monster or something, and he uses what's called a pike, and he spears it. But this is just a skin, it's a different take on the character. You can think of skins kind of also this character meets this world, right? So this character meets Asian assassin, right? Now I'm not the best with keywords, so it's a good thing that that it's not the focus of this episode. So here are thumbnails, right? And I talked a little bit about their importance earlier, but you mainly do these to save time, right? So these are really well done and executed, but you can make them a little bit messier if you get the point across. I personally, like in my personal work, I have made thumbnails that are a little bit like messier than others. I might throw some up on the screen, but basically, like you want to convey what this character is about, right? Like the idea of the artwork isn't so much like, oh, let's make something look really cool, but rather let's have this character story come through in the artwork, right? So like let's look at these ones and see why they didn't choose them, or why they took different elements from them, right? In terms of like composition, right? So what I'm noticing is this one is really cool, but it didn't convey, like it didn't show the weapon enough. Like I feel like Pike's weapon, like it's because it's like this kind of a spiky thing. You want to really put that into composition, and you can utilize that sharp triangle shape to point at something and to guide the eye. Right here is just kind of going up. Even if you angled it this way, I think it would have been better. So maybe that's also one of the things that they didn't pick this one. I do like the fact that it shows this character and he's like around the corner. He's like gonna attack him. I do really very much like this one, but the issue with this one is that the focus is here on this character, and you want to focus on this character. But maybe they also had the idea because of like the red coming out of the eyes. It's like, oh, he's like taking his soul, right? And that idea is really cool too. But I feel like it's not centering this character as the main focus. It's centering here and the sword, and then the sword or pike gets out of composition, so you don't even see it all that much. This one I feel is really strong. I think maybe the posing in this one is the thing that they didn't want to pick. Usually when you pick like these types of posings for depending on the type of character, you want to pick something that like looks even more cool than this, which is probably why they went with this one right here on the bottom, and I'll go in a little bit of detail on this one in a second. But I like the composition regardless on this one. I think it's really cool. It's really strong. This one is really strong too, but I do think in terms of like in comparison to the other ones, I do think that this one is showing more action. Like most of them are showing them doing something, right? He's doing something here, but he doesn't seem like the type of character that would be attacking multiple people. He's an assassin, right? So he would be focusing on one person, which is what these ones are here, you know? And like here, he got him, right? I think this one would have been really cool too, but again, he's an assassin, so I feel like he wouldn't kind of do this here. He would just, off him, like, boom, I'm on you, you're done, right? So I think what they did, right, is they took different things from different elements to make the composition for this one, right? Which is something common in thumbnailing, right? Like you get ideas from your thumbnails, but then you build on them. And then also like when you're like either with a client or like somebody that's helping guide the artwork, they usually tell you like what they like about something or what they think is probably going to do a little bit better, and then they'll help you come upon a conclusion. So like maybe they like the lighting in this one, like the angular lighting and the fact that he was coming down, but they like this one where he did this pose here because it's very imposing, and he's like coming down on the guy and he has the pike thing. You have the weapon in the scene, you have the silhouette of the character. It just feels like they could do more of a perspective on this one, like, so that's I think how they came up on this conclusion, because they have a little bit of that lighting that we were talking about. They did add some stuff in this version, but it got omitted later on, that you'll see. I do really like the way that they made this composition. It's very strong. You get a sense that this isn't the main focus of the character, kind of like in this one where he's like right here, or maybe even on this one. But League of Legends in particular, like the artwork, they're really good at focusing, so I'm sure they could have just rendered this out more and then made him blurrier. But I do like the composition of this one and this one. I think 3 would have worked as well, but I think in terms of interest and like making things look cooler, and the fact that he's bigger here makes him seem more important, which is the point of the artwork. So it meets the goal and the criteria. One thing that I think is really interesting is how they did this with like the cape, or maybe it's a cloak or something that he has on. But later on, they changed the direction of its flow. I think that was a really good idea, because the original intention was like, oh, showing where he came from, like how he jumped down. But then it was changed to like, okay, he's already landed. This is his. It's like the ominous little hair that he has on the back of the thing. Or maybe it's just like a smoke kind of thing. It's like death, like he's about to get the guy. And so I like this. I like the way that they did this, the way that they framed it and everything. And you can see, like, if you crop this into like fours, right, you would have it here, 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 and here, right, or somewhere along these lines here, on this line. And it doesn't have to be exactly on that cross, right? I think that's an important distinction in composition. It just has to be somewhat close to it, right? And obviously the compositions can change. It doesn't have to be on this T or whatever, the one like right here or right here. But you can move things around and make it in a composition where it's like, maybe you're only taking up like this space here, and then this space is empty, right? Or like you break it up into thirds, so it's 1, 2, and then you have 1, 2, 3, right? And you use this space, but this space is clear, right? And you tilt it to this angle, so this area is super clear. You know, you could do a lot of different things in terms of like how you're going to compose the image, right? So you can put your character in however you'd like. But I do think that this is really, the way that they made this is really thoughtful, and I think I'm going to come back to this a little bit later on to do a little bit of a study of how they did it in their thumbnailing, that is, because I think it's really good use of thumbnails. Alrighty, so the next one. This was Viktor Titov. The link in the description will be down below. You can go ahead and check out their work down there. I was going to feature Jessica Olhart, but I ended up picking Viktor. But maybe we'll get to Jessica in another episode. Alright, so this next one is going to be Billy Christian. Now, Billy Christian's work is like really cool. I think they did a really cool job with the thumbnails and conveying like the idea of the character. And their final render of the character is just really like nice, you know? I like how they did the fire over here on the hair, and how they did the composition with this. I do, you know, think I would have moved a couple things, but I think overall, like, they did an amazing job with it. But that's just my own little critique for myself. But this is amazing. I think it's awesome. I really like these little letters on the tombs here. I didn't even notice those at first. Oh, they're on all of them. That's really cool. So I really like how they made these thumbnails here. They saved themselves a ton of time, like figuring out like how they were gonna do everything. I do think that the shape in this one held a little bit better than it did in the actual sword. But you know, this looks more interesting, right? I think it takes a lot of interest away from this area though. But I think that's also like maybe part of the lore or something of this character. I don't know who this character is. It's Headless Idris splash art from Vainglory. I'm not particularly like knowledgeable of Vainglory, but I'm sure it's like a really interesting game. I really like the way that they did these thumbnails, because they're all actions and they're focusing on that whole composition thing we were talking about with the T's here, right? Like they all have it on one of the T's. This one has it here, this one has it here. They're all primarily on the right side. I would have liked to see them like swapped, like put him here, right? And then like the weapon over here on some of them, because I do feel like it's taking away. This one is probably my favorite one, actually, out of all of them. I know they picked A, but I think D served the purpose a lot of this character. But then again, I'm not like knowledgeable of this character's lore. I do really like how it was going here with these. These are different color iterations. You can see right here is what it says. I think I really like, personally, I really like C. I like the blue with green. I think it looks very magical and like a dark fantasy type thing. This one here where it's like green, I think is really cool too. As you can see, you can use thumbnails not only for, you know, doing the first iteration of the render, or like of the composition, I mean, but you can also do it after you have rendered a little bit. You can change the colors and stuff, which I have done in some occasions on different things. And it's really helpful to do this because then you can commit and you don't have to, you know, think so much about like how you want to do the color palette. And it seems they picked C, which is the one that I favored, but I think it was a really cool job. Billy Christian's doing an amazing job, so if you like his work, go ahead and hit that like button and follow his work on ArtStation. His link will be down in the description below. And without further ado, let's move on to Rudy Siswanto. I really like Rudy Siswanto's work. I'm a huge fan of his things that he does, and he's probably one of the first people that I found when it comes to doing splash art, because he's one of the first people that I saw that was doing thumbnails, and I learned a lot from the thumbnail process, right? The rendering is amazing, right? It's immaculate, but you know, I'm not gonna like act like I'm at this level, right? Like, this guy's obviously extremely skilled, but his work with figuring out the composition and the story is just really top notch. I really liked how he made the thumbnails in these ones here, because he does it like I would like want to kind of do more in the future, and he thinks more of like the story of like what's going on, like these four people, or four tiger people, I guess, are being trained, and this is the guy training them, and he's, you know, there's a child around, so he's saying hi to the child or talking to the child, and then there's, you know, they're getting ready to do some training, right? I think that narrative is really cool. I like the idea of like this one where they're like fighting in the background, but in the final piece, I think this is the one that he picked, just flipped it, maybe. Yeah, he did this one and he flipped it and he gave it a little bit more of an angle, I think. Yeah, he did it from right here. I think the line of sight is here, around here, looking up. Yeah, it's like this composition. I think it's A. But I think it's really cool how he did the sketches, and he just kind of did line work over the top of that. And, I'm pretty sure he builds on his actual design. I think that's how he does it, where he does like some of the rough sketches, and then he'll go line work, and then he'll do like value go over the top of it. And I do think that that's a lot more efficient with like time, and you don't have to do like, you know, you do the drawing of it, then you do the line work of it, then you do the flats of it with the values. I think this is a lot like better in terms of time efficiency, because then he can also establish a foreground, midground, and background, which here would, in this one, would be the foreground, would be these characters, right? Midground would be maybe this guy, and background would probably be these guys over here. But I really do think that Rudy's work is really good. Also, side note, a lot of Rudy's work is amazing, right? If you really like what you see here on this this illustration, you can go ahead and follow his stuff. I'll put the link down in the description below. He has a lot of pieces that are just amazing, right? And he's really good at thumbnailing as well, and he showcases it in a lot of his artwork once he posts it online. So if you want to learn a lot of thumbnailing, definitely check out Rudy Siswanto. Yeah, if you guys made it this far in the video, I want to say thank you. I know that this series is sometimes a little bit drawn out, and sometimes I kind of yammer about the same things, but I want to stop and say thank you to everybody who's watched. If you enjoyed the video, comment down below. Let me know what you liked about the video. You know, also leave a comment like which artist you learned probably the most from. If you know of an artist that, you know, should get a little bit more recognition, comment them down below. Link their ArtStation, and we'll see if we can feature them in another episode. And as always, guys, just don't forget to leave a like, you know, share it with your friends. This series is dedicated to kind of sharing artwork of other artists, and, you know, showcasing like artwork that I like, and just kind of, you know, letting people learn and see for themselves like what's out there, because I know sometimes you get caught up in your own stuff and you just go on ArtStation and you're just like, oh man, I feel bad. Alright guys, as always, don't forget to stay mystical.